should always be a win-win for each of you. So it's something that your client should be glad to sign, and it's something you should be glad to deliver to them, and not making it real difficult for yourself. You want to make it easy for you to understand, easy for them to understand, but also include everything you need to protect yourself along with protecting your client. What's going on, content creators? This is Gary, and today we're going to be talking about 5 ways to tell if you're an amateur photographer. These are things that I've heard from clients, I've heard from friends, from family, and fellow photographers, and I want to share it with you in hopes to shed light on what you can do different if you find yourself practicing one of these snafus or faux pas, and you want to be different. You don't want to be considered an amateur. You're going to see some ways that you can up your game without really costing a lot of money, hopefully, but also giving your clients a better experience and making it easier for you as a photographer and having more confidence in what you do. Number 3, you don't have a contract. Now, I don't have to tell you the importance of it. You can go and Google photography contract horror stories, and you will find a lot of different things. Most of the time, the sad thing is we learn this through trial and error, most of us. I can't remember having a horror story for a photography shoot. I've had definitely some difficult clients to deal with, but not based because of the contract, but mostly just because they're not clear on what they want exactly, maybe, or something like that. So I'm just filling in some gaps, and they might say, well, can you give me another a different perspective or a different angle on that, or can we do a reshoot because I don't like any of that, I don't like, whatever it may be. So those things could happen, but the contract helps protect you and it helps protect your client. It should always be a win-win for each of you. So it's something that your client should be glad to sign, and it's something you should be glad to deliver to them, and not making it real difficult for yourself. You want to make it easy for you to understand, easy for them to understand, but also include everything you need to protect yourself along with protecting your client. Should anything go wrong, should you get sick, should you not be able to show up, or if they choose not to pay, what are the clauses, what are the steps that you take if you have to reschedule, or all these different things can come up. Maybe the power goes out because of a bad storm or something like that, and you can't edit at the time that they need it. What does the contract say in that situation for your client and for you? So those are things that can come up, and even worse things can come up where they just refuse to pay you, right? You deliver the product and you give it to them in the right time, you give them to them in the high quality, and they just say, nope, I'm not paying you. All right, real talk. Just today, I had a client call me because I do a lot of live event and highlight video shots and shoots, and I had a client call me and said they had some issues with the transportation for the students at an upcoming event that they had already signed the contract for, and they paid a deposit, 50% down. It's a non-refundable deposit. So they called and left, or they sent me an email and sent me a text message today and said, hey, I'm not going to be able to use your services because I can't pay for the videography because I had some unexpected expenses with transportation. And had I not had a contract, I personally would have felt obligated to give that person their money back because it wouldn't have been any clarity as to how to go forward. And the question they had was, how do we need to move forward? And since I had a contract, it was a simple answer. It was, per our contract, the deposit is non-refundable. So we can make some other choices here. We can say, okay, let's cut your video needs in half. Let's cut the hours down. Let's cut the edited video down, and we can go from there. And it was a real simple situation that could have been a really big deal and a big problem because they may have expected me to give them their money back if we hadn't had any type of written agreement, which I get. And I would have expected not to give them their money back because they paid a deposit. And in my mind, I may have just thought it should be non-refundable, but I never would have had it in writing. And so contracts are there to help you keep things clear for both sides, for both parties, both you and your client. And it should alleviate a lot of heartburn or heartache on both sides as well. Was there a contract signed? If so, you've got something you can show as proof that there was an agreement here that you should be paying me. And if you don't, I have something that shows that you should, and we can take it to the next step. Number 4, if you shoot everything in auto, whether it's photos or videos, shooting in automatic mode is a sign of an amateur, not because it's bad, but because you don't have control over what's being done with your photos or with your videos. In ideal, perfect situations where there's great lighting outdoors or something like that, it really won't matter because you probably use the same settings that the automatic function would have set anyway. No big deal. But when it's low light situations and you don't want to have a lot of grain, or maybe it's you're using a flash, right? And it's external flash. It's not the one built into some of the cameras that you might have, and you're trying to shoot it and you're trying to create some effect. You don't want to shoot it in automatic because automatic is going to expose for how dark it is and how fast, it just is not good. So you want to make sure that you have graduated from automatic mode. Now, what I tell people is automatic mode is good to help you learn how to use the different functions and settings in ideal situations. So your camera will show you in automatic mode what is shot. When you go back and look at your pictures, it'll say, I set the aperture to this, I set the ISO to this, I set the shutter at this. You can go back and look at that, get an idea of what that scene was like or what the atmosphere, the lighting was like and all that, and all those good things. And then you can go into manual mode and try to set it up yourself and do the same thing, and then start tweaking one thing at a time. So start tweaking how fast the shutter is and see what it does. Start tweaking how wide you open up the aperture from that main original automatic setting, but go into manual with those same settings and make adjustments and learn what each function of your camera does, so that when you're shooting a real shoot or you're at with a real client, you can make adjustments that you need to get the certain look that you want without having to worry about your camera doing everything for you. Another crazy experience, I was working on a project. It was a live event. It was fairly short notice that they decided to use a videographer, but they also needed a sound man and another camera crew from the company that was bringing the sound, and they wanted me to just make the highlight video. And I typically like to use my own footage, whether it's photos and or videos. So I came with my cameras and my equipment. Everything I have is pretty portable. I carry a pretty light load when compared to a huge production company or something like that. And they had the microphones, they had a big old stand and all this. They had a huge camera. The camera they had was probably $35,000 or $40,000 is my guess, or the lens was at least. And so I'm like, okay, they're going to have some great footage. I'll combine their footage with my footage. Now, everything I shoot in manual, right? So when I'm doing video, it's in manual mode. When I'm doing photos, it's in manual mode. And in doing so, I make adjustments on the fly. I literally will change my ISO throughout the day, throughout the shoot, throughout the evening. I'll change my aperture throughout the day, throughout the shoot, throughout the evening, or whatever it is. And I'm doing that constantly because my camera's in my hand and I'm looking at it and I'm seeing what the lighting is like. I'm looking at it to see what the effect is that I want, and I create it. So time to create and produce this product, this highlight video for this client. I got with the production company before we left that night of the shoot and gave them my card. They gave me their card. I reached out to them at the time frame they asked me to within about a week or so. Went to go pick up the hard drive from them, and I looked at the footage, and it was totally devastating because everything was so dark I couldn't even use it. They did not make any adjustments to the camera when everything started, when the event started. For whatever reason, their lighting that they used in their camera, the settings they used in their camera, they did not adjust the camera for the low light, and it was just horrible. So I didn't even use their footage. I ended up having to use all my own handheld footage because they had the tripod, they were doing all that good stuff, and they were just shooting the entire event, which was great, which I thought I could rely on. But I did get enough footage to get the highlight video done on my own, combining the photos, combining the handheld shots. But my shots were much cleaner, much better in terms of being able to adjust for that light. Now, I don't know if the camera guy they had was newer and he just wasn't comfortable making those adjustments on the fly like that, which is quite possible, and I get it. But you don't want to find yourself in that situation. So look at what your camera's doing. take the tips, and then make the adjustments. Look at it what it does in automatic mode, and then make the changes on your own in manual mode and see how that works and get comfortable with it, because you don't want to be in that situation where you don't have any backup footage that you can use because everything was shot in automatic mode and it totally blew out everything, or it totally made everything dark, or whatever it may be. So keep that in mind. The last one, number 5. This one it baffles me, but it happens. I've not talked with a photographer or videographer that's ever done this. I've just heard stories from family members and friends and other clients even that have come to me saying that I got this photo shoot done last year. Like just today I was talking to someone, they said I got a photo shoot and it was with a family member, and they said it happened last summer and I just got the pictures today. So last summer, to give you guys an idea, right now it's May when I'm recording this video, so it was almost a year ago that they did the photo shoot and they're just now getting the pictures. I don't think there's a number of pictures, an amount of pictures that I would have to edit that it would take me a year to deliver, because it's all digital, right? I'm not like in a dark room trying to make this work and processing them and all that kind of stuff and let them develop. It's just digital images on a computer. Now maybe if I lost my computer or something like that, I get it, but there's got to be a better way. So if it takes you that long to deliver your products to your clients, you're probably an amateur. And in those situations, what I would say is the contract that we talked about earlier is going to help you navigate that process, because you should put in there when the client should expect to see the finished product. For me and my contracts, my clients pay a deposit, but then they don't have to pay the remaining balance until I deliver the final product. So it's due upon delivery in my contract. So my clients have something to kind of hold me accountable, but I also have something to hold them accountable. And we kind of do the transaction at the same time. It's, hey, I got your video ready, or hey, I got your photos ready. I'll send them the final invoice. They pay it, and I send them the link to their photos, and we're even, right? That's the win-win that I was talking about earlier. So whenever you're creating content, it doesn't matter that you shot the footage. It doesn't matter that you went and got the photos unless you deliver it to your client. All of it is dead in the water. It doesn't really count, especially to your client. They don't care that they showed up to the photo shoot. They don't care that you showed up with the photo shoot. They don't care what kind of camera you had. They don't care what kind of lights you used. They don't care what the settings were on your camera. They don't even care if you had backup batteries or not. They just care when they get the pictures or when they get the videos. And if they don't get them, it was a bad experience. So until next time, I'm Gary. Keep creating, keep living, and keep building.